Hi, I'm Pat Baer, and this is Pat Baer's Anime Club. It's my ongoing video series where every episode I take a look at something from the world of anime that I want to chat with you about. It could be a deep dive into a subgenre, it could be a look back at a particular influential manga or anime or visual novel or whatever. In this case, it's my top 10 list for 2024. So remember here, top 10 2024. You can see it right there. That's right, we're counting down my top 10. This is anime that released in calendar 2024. So it was in the winter 2024 season, spring, summer, or fall. And I'm fairly sure I got anime from all four seasons. Pretty sure, yeah, that we run the gambit. Little peek behind the curtain. I could have included Zom 100 in this list because Zom 100, the last 3 episodes aired in bulk. The show had been airing earlier in 2023, and then the last 3 came out around Christmas time, but they came out after I had recorded my top 10. And so Zom 100 is eligible this year and actually was in my top 20, but didn't make the cut. That happens. Basically, I can only go by what I've seen. I can't be like, well, the last couple episodes might be good. I don't feel comfortable doing that. And I have to have seen everything for it to be included. And so, yeah, unfortunately, Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead, not in my top 10, but was eligible. And let's actually, again, to list there with an actual number 11, my honorable mention, can't make the top 10. It would have. This show would have if episodes 11 and 12 of Whisper Me a Love Song had actually come out within my block. That's right. They're coming out on the 29th of December. So at time of this recording, in a few days, it'll be coming out. And unfortunately, that's not within my window. Whisper Me a Love Song is eligible for my top 10 list for 2025. And I will remember that. I will make a note of it. Don't you worry. This show's so great. It starts off with just a thing of love at first sight and then a retraction of love at first sight. And then the other character being like, well, I opened up my heart to you in the possibility and you've rejected me after saying that you love me. So what if I made you love me? What if I convinced you that you were right the first time? And it's very high school, but it's gay as hell from the jump, and the choices the characters make are really interesting. The music isn't the most important part, but the music is good, and it is moving the characters along throughout the... You can kind of imagine what the big plot point beats are going to be in a high school romance show with musicians involved. Like, you can probably guess some of the bigger beats, but the smaller moments are, I think, where the show really shines. And I'm not going to get too depth into it because, like I said, it's not in my top 10 list, but it would have been. Just understand that if production had continued properly and episodes 11 and 12 had aired at the time of 1 through 10, then yeah, this would have easily been in my top 10, and it's a bummer that it's not, but I'm making the rules and I'm not breaking them. So here's number 10. You will find a couple isekai on this show, on this particular list. You will find a few romance shows, some action. It just worked out this year that I've got a bunch of variety, and I'm very proud of that. There's always a few isekai because statistically, I watch most isekai that come out, and so I will like some of them. And it turns out this is one of them. Villainous Level 99. I may be the hidden boss, but I'm not the demon lord. It's such a long title, and it's such a great show. Yumiella, our main character, is a reincarnation, right? Reincarnated isekai character. She played this game, but not for the romance. She played for it because it was actually surprisingly really good as an RPG. And she's a game junkie. She's a battle junkie. And I have to say this right off the top. She is not declared in this series as being on the spectrum. But this character is written on the spectrum. Her ineptitude in social situations, she's very strong, but she misreads situations consistently, and not in this is funny that she misread it, this is a character defining trait. You might say flaw, but I don't think of it as flaw. I think it is just making her well-rounded in a subgenre where main characters are often just overpowered and nice, and that's as far as they get. Yumiella is nice. She understands that, like, oh, I have this magic ability, and the character that I am portraying in the visual novel, in the game, I should say, turns out to be this evil and is betrayed and all this other stuff. And like, yeah, that's fine. I don't care about any of that. I'm just gonna get strong and then like protect this world. She's also very willing consistently to abandon the world, or the world that she's in, the life that she has built, up until she makes an actual strong connection with the guy here, Patrick. Hey, a very rare thing that a character with my name is in an anime, but that's awesome. She develops a friendship and maybe more with him. Another element of the show, because I can't spend too much time at every single episode or every single thing on this list. I will say there are two other things I want to mention. One, fate is very important. The will of the game to be on plot is very important in this, and you don't see that in every Otome game adaptation, some, but not all. And so that's really interesting to me. And the other thing that I do want to point out about this show is there is a cool dragon. It's animated with CGI and looks bad, but it is a cool dragon. So want to point that out for my dragon friends out there, because there were some there was a show where a main character was a dragon, not on this list. So if you're looking for dragons, there's like one other show where dragons make appearances on this list. Let me look at this list. Yeah, only one other show has a dragon in it. You know what doesn't have a dragon? It's Dahlia in Bloom, Crafting a Fresh Start with Magical Tools. Our other isekai. Let me look at this list. Is that the only other isekai on this list? It is. It's the only other isekai on here. There's some other, fantasy stuff in here, but yeah, that's it as far as isekai goes. And this is another female-led isekai, and that is not a coincidence. These are some of the ones where the writing is really good, where they're going a throwback. They're doing the old school isekai, the stuff that is Alice in Wonderland inspired, just by genre, not necessarily the content. But yeah, this girl died, reincarnated, and lives a slow life using some knowledge from the real world, from her world, but mostly just the fact that she's like very inquisitive and good at making magic tools. And that's look, there's magical tools that happen there, but it's really just like what happens when your contract marriage comes to an end and you find out that you've kind of subconsciously you haven't been your real self, and then you meet a guy who you like, and maybe there'll be romance there, but it's complicated because of your setting and all that. And then it's just like all the things where you find out like, oh, her dad would collect favors, and then he was like, oh, let's pay you back. And he was just like, someday my daughter's going to need help, and I'd like you to help her. And that's just great. It's just fun. We just constantly, a character who we don't see a lot in the show, we constantly rediscover how much this guy was looking out for his daughter for the rest of her life, and how lovely that is. And that's the right word for this show. It's lovely. It is not all sunshine and roses, but the drama is earned, and it's just a delightful series that you should check out. Dahlia and Bloom, Crafting a Fresh Start with Magical Tools. My number 9. And it's only number 9 because this year was really strong. This could have been middle of the pack with no problem. And for a little while when I was working on my list, it was. But it ended up at number 9, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Number 8. Now, there are folks who are going to look at this list and see the number 8 and think that means I didn't love this show. Even though it's number 8 out of all of the anime I watched this year, which is a lot of anime, Solo Leveling. Solo Leveling being number 8 is not me hating it. And that is a thing with lists in general, and this is not the time or place. Maybe that's another video where I just get mad about people who get mad about lists. Yeah, it's one of my favorite anime of the year. Solo Leveling is slow and patient, and maybe that's why it didn't go higher on my list. It's also based on a manhwa, and it's the best manhwa adaptation I've seen out of all of them, in my opinion. Maybe you've got a favorite, maybe you found another one you thought God of High School was a better adaptation, but I think Solo Leveling is just... Here's the thing. It is a gorgeous manhwa visually. Anime nails that. It is a slow burn series about a guy who has this kind of video game kind of inspired leveling system that no one else has, and he's been given a second chance now, and now he can become an overpowered main character, and he doesn't get overpowered instantly. He has to fight to get there, and you see him fight and claw, and by the end of the first season, he is a badass, don't get me wrong. One of the things I really love about this is there's stuff that from the manhwa that didn't make it to the anime, and it's all smart choices. A few things are rearranged in ways that are a little weird, but I think a big part of this that really resonated with me, I should say, is that there's some real cringe in that is unnecessary and doesn't fulfill anything and goes counterintuitive to the characters, but not in a like, oh, because he's, vast. It's just like there are weird scenes in the manhwa that aren't in the anime adaptation. And I'm like, great. That's excellent. You do not have to be moment-to-moment faithful, especially with manhwa, in the same way that shonen, which is weekly, manhwa is weekly. Like, sometimes that people are just doing stuff, like we're just doing stuff to do stuff because we got to fill pages. And you have more time when you're adapting. More soul leveling is coming. If you're looking for an action series where the main character grows and changes and becomes more through the course of it with some solid supporting characters who are even just hinting at being even more solid as the series goes on, it's Solo Leveling. It rocks. And number 6 is very different. Number 6 is very different from number 7. Well, I'm jumping ahead. Number 7 is also very different from number 8. Look Back. It's my first movie on the list. And movie, long OVA, short movie, it's an hour. I've never had a movie on my top 10 list before, but god damn, this movie is gorgeous and lovely and sad. It's a very Pat Baer movie. It is a drama about people growing up and trying to figure out what they can do. It's a movie about creatives finding each other and making each other better, but also maybe worse. And maybe their support is perhaps a little toxic, but also, is it toxic or is it just youth? I don't know. It's a lovely movie. As I said, maybe it's a long OVA, maybe it's a short movie. But if you haven't seen Look Back, just get Amazon Prime for a month. Like, you owe it to yourself to watch this movie. I don't want to get too depth. I don't get super in depth with these, as you can tell, because I'm talking about, in this case, 11 anime. But in this case, it's because it's dense, but it's also, it's not 12 or 13 episodes of a show. It's one very long thing that you should check out and enjoy. Look Back is phenomenal. Can't say enough good things about it. 365 Days to the Wedding. I also have a lot of nice things to say about it. We have a top 10 list, right? Is this the last romance on the list? It is. It's the last romance show on the list. There's some little romance in another one, but that's not the point. 365 Days to the Wedding was kind of under the wire here. It was a little too slow for me. The premise is phenomenal for a romantic comedy. Our main characters decide they're going to get married so that they don't have to move to a new branch location of their work in another country because they want to send single people there that aren't tied down. So they're like, well, actually, we've been secretly dating and we're getting married in a year. And then how do you make that work? How do you pretend? How do you fool people? And what happens when you start spending all this time with somebody and it's like, wait, do I love this person? Do I like this person? Is this actually okay? Is this great for us? And then you add in personal quirks that may have prevented them from dating seriously in the past that are also not annoying. Their quirks that are holding them back are natural and earnest and honest and believable. And you end up with this lovely series that just is a joy to watch. And the supporting cast is so great, and they have their own things going on. They're not just there to help further the romance. I would say if one subgenre or genre this year was a little lacking in anime, it was romance. There was a lot of high school romance stuff, some of which was like dark and weird, and I think that's awesome. But this one was just like, this is just a good show. This is just a really good show. It's a good one of those. It's a great one of those. You can just put on and feel good by the end of it. This is a show you could definitely marathon through as you're rooting for these characters to figure this thing out. Again, strong premise, handled really well. I love this manga. I was so happy when the anime adaptation got announced, and it's just, yeah. Also, they're adults. They're youngish adults, but they're adults. And as I get older, anytime there's a romance show that's not about high school students, I'm pretty happy. Even if that's maybe not the target demographic for romance anime these days, I'm still excited about it. Another show I'm excited about. Hey, you might not know this, but Oshinoko had a second season. It feels like Oshinoko was like one of, if not the biggest anime of 2023. And the second season kind of just came and went for a lot of people. It feels like, maybe it was the transition from focusing on an idol group while in the background trying to solve some murders, a big murder mystery. Maybe the transition from that to solving a murder mystery while instead of doing the idol work, we're doing a stage play. Maybe stage plays just don't resonate with people. I don't know. Maybe they were looking for more idol performances in their show. Me, your friend Pat, and the folks that watch my weekly content know, the thing I like is the murder mystery, because our main character was murdered and then got reincarnated, and then the mother of his reincarnation mother got murdered in the same kind of plot that led to his death, and he's trying to figure that out, and who is responsible. I mean, he knows the actual murderer, but who set the murder up, who set this plot in motion. And that's always in the background. Towards the end of season 2, it gets fucking weird with it in a way that I'm really psyched about. But most of season 2, which was good, but most of season 2 is about this stage play. And I've said this before, an element that I really like about Oshinoko is that our main characters are not great actors right off the bat. But they get better through the course of this stage play, the highs and lows, this manga adapted to a live performance. They get better at acting, and you watch them get better at acting together and on their own. So these are voice actors who are playing actors who are bad and getting better, and occasionally have moments of brilliance. And that's really difficult to convey. And it's also maybe a little difficult for me to convey how much I enjoyed that. And the answer is a lot. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I can understand why this may have dropped off for some people, because the idol movements, the intricate dances, all of that is a little bit lost in favor of the acting, which I'm a bit more into, because the highs and lows of trying to make it in the idol business is not necessarily something that I'm super into. But I am also into this weird murder mystery that involves reincarnation, and said that, like I said, towards the end of this season, it starts progressing. The story starts moving. That's Oshinoko season 2. Is it as good as Oshinoko season 1? Probably not, but still really good. And also, a reminder, if you still haven't seen it, the 90-minute episode 1 of Oshinoko first season is wild, and please watch it. Get that free trial for High Dive and watch at least the first episode. That 90-minute, like, it's so bonkers. You will enjoy it. You might not have enjoyed number 4. How's that transition? Good. You might not have enjoyed my 4th anime of the year, because I know some people bounced right off of it. They just didn't enjoy it. But for me, my dear friend Nokotan rules. Even more, obviously, the opening song, so fun. I know the opening song was so fun. It was having its moment. It's probably the second biggest song of the year outside of the anime world. We'll get to number 1 in a bit. But yeah, my dear friend Nokotan is so weird. Noko is a girl and a deer, and then there are other deer. and those deers are done in a different art style, and she's maybe the queen of deer, and maybe she's a goddess, but also it doesn't matter. And the narrator makes that very clear, that this is just nonsense, and just let it wash over you. This show is silly and weird, and the jokes are there to be fun and have a good time, and the characters are there to be outrageous and nonsensical. And sometimes things happen, and they didn't happen because they happened last episode, and who cares? As far as the narrative goes, it's just in service of this weird girl and the weird scenes. I know a few people dropped off because there is the sister character who is obsessed with the other main character. She is not important. Do not worry about that. Yes, she's there, and there's an episode where that's a big deal. It's fine. There are some references to other things, but this is not the most referential anime of the year, or even on my list. If you're like, I don't know why that happened, just go with it, I think. Like, sometimes it is a reference to something else, but most of the time it's just because they just wanted to make the weirdest choice possible. And that's what's up with My Dear Friend Nokotan. It's just weird, and I really liked it. I was looking forward to every episode as it came out. Couldn't wait to watch the next My Dear Friend Nokotan. And actually, this was higher on my list for a bit, but it swapped places with my number 3. We'll say that. This was my number 3 for quite some time. But sometimes, despite the fact that this is an objective, it's a subjective list. It's a subjective list, right? This is my top 10. This is not your top 10 for 2024. Your top 10 for 2024 could have like girl band cry in it, which I bounced off of, but I know people loved. It could have your number 1 could be solo leveling. My number 1 could not even be on your list because you don't even think of that as a 2024 anime, even though some of it came out in 2024. You just think of it as a 2023 anime, and it was too slow for you and you didn't like the vibe or whatever. Like, your list is different from my list, right? So you might have higher my number 3, Delicious in Dungeon, which for a very long time on this list was my number 4, and then eventually, look, I bounced right off the manga of Delicious in Dungeon, and I thought maybe the anime would do the same, that I would bounce off this anime, and actually took a little while before I really delved into it. I don't know why, because I love all about it. I love the how they love food in it. I love the action. I love the weirdness of it, the twists and turns, the drama involved in Delicious in Dungeon, the characterization, even the characters that I don't like personally because I'm not supposed to like them, I still can enjoy them being there. There's so much to love about Delicious in Dungeon, and I don't know why, but week to week it didn't always keep my attention. But it sits with me, right? And that's why when I was looking at this list and I was like, this list, yeah, my list is done. It didn't feel done because Delicious in Dungeon was number 4, and I was like, but I think about it a lot. I don't think about every joke in My Dear Friend Nokotan, even though I think it's really funny. But I think about moments in Delicious in Dungeon. Like, some of my favorite moments of the year are in this anime. And it's just so well written and so well acted. The voice acting is so phenomenal. It's a total package. It's made with love. Obviously, it's a commercial product like all of these, but there is an element of professionalism that is like, make this do right by the fans of this particular series. And I think they do. So even if it isn't like my favorite anime of the year, I still respect the hell out of it. I almost said shit, but yeah, I respect the shit out of it. And it was always going to be on my list. It just never was going to be as high. But I was like, no, actually, it is my 3rd favorite show of the year. It is number 3, yeah. Because it really resonates. It really sticks with me. Another show that really sticks with me, and this list could not be completed until like 365 Days of the Wedding. I was like, I'm pretty sure this is on my list. I kind of want to see how Dan to Dan sticks the landing of season 1 before Dan to Dan is on my list. And guess what? Dan to Dan is my 2nd favorite anime of 2024. Didn't make number 1. It maybe is your number 1. Maybe you have Dan to Dan, Delicious in Dungeon fighting tied for number 1. Oh boy, this show is weird. Science Saru just nailed it. I finished episode 1 and then immediately sought out the manga because I was like, oh, I need to read this and never got around to it. I need to read Dan. I want to be ahead of the anime. I need to know more of what's going on here. It's stylish and bizarre. Hey, I'm going to say right here, not everybody will do this part, but I will say this part. The first episode, maybe you will walk away from it and go, not for me. There is some content warning in the first episode of some stuff that is fucked up, and maybe that's where you jump off Dan, or you just watch clips of some of the wild stuff. You watch a compilation of all the times that Oka Run turns into a monster man, and that's all you need to see. So like, I want to see the shrimp guy. Like, great, the shrimp boxer, you got it. Just watch whatever you want to watch there. If you want to bounce, you bounce. I think Dan is phenomenal. It is bombastic and alive and nonsensical and wild and just completely insane, and also very real in some ways, like our loser main character and our popular girl who don't really have anything in common except for circumstances, but like each other. And also, at least one of them is kind of mad at the idea that they can't like the other person. And that feels very honest. And there's like the misunderstandings that lead to just like not even trying to figure that out for a while. And then also there are aliens that are awful and demons and spirits, and hey, there are some villain of the weeks here that are understandable, that you take away from it going like, oh yeah, I get why you would be upset with this, or I get why this wouldn't resonate well with you. Like, oh yeah, okay. Like, oh, this makes sense why I'm not like wanting your destruction, why I want things to work out. It's deep and bizarre and great. And season 2's coming out. Can't wait for season 2. Maybe season 2 will be on my list for next year because it's coming out in the summer, which is fast, but not super fast. Like, they are taking a season in between. So it's not like a 2-core. But yeah, Dan, it whips ass. It's just really good and strange. And I'm so glad Science Saru is the studio that's making this, because everything looks beautiful and everything looks great, and I think it's going to age really well. Also, I mentioned with my dear friend Nokatan, hey, the theme to Dan went viral and rules, and it's so great. And it's just a lovely series. It's Dan. There's going to be a break here, and then I will talk about my number 1 on the list. But I'm taking a momentary pause, and then I will start the video with that, and then there'll just be a little break, but it'll be noticeable, so I'm not going to pretend that I'm not taking a moment before I reveal my number 1. Okay. And my number 1 anime of the year is Frieren Beyond Journey's End, because it was always going to be Frieren. Hey, guess what? It's been my number 1 since the end of last year. It was my one to beat. It came in second because this is a 2-core, started in 2023, went into 2024. So it went from the fall 2023 into the winter 2024. First half of it ended up number 2 on my 2023 list, and would have been number 1 except for, hey, Witcher Mercury. I love it. Witcher Mercury was amazing and incredible. So a Gundam series was number 1. This year, no Gundam series to take number 1, because I thought that the short series that was on Netflix, the Requiem of Vengeance or whatever, was bad. So, hey, great job, Frieren Beyond Journey's End. God, phenomenal. Just a phenomenal series, a slow burn. I know some people bounced off of it, which I think is just like, while I understand it, you gotta try again. Just see if it resonates with you the way it resonated with me. It's gorgeous. It's 1 foot in the past and 1 foot in the future, even though the future is also like so connected to what happened in the past. It is this woman, this elf woman, Frieren, who, as part of the hero's party, saved the world, and she's kind of retracing her steps on a new journey with the next generation of people that could theoretically save the world if needed, and she's still there to make things right. There are gorgeous action scenes, really silly, goofy stuff because every character is well-rounded. Is there romance in this? There's a little bit of romance in there. There's some goofiness from all of the characters. Is there a very long arc of like a test, like not necessarily like a student arc, but like we have to accomplish this task? Yes, there's a very long arc that is a bulk of this, even though most of the beginning of it is just like cool vibes, and then, we gotta fight someone. Oh, holy shit, check out this character being a badass and being great. And then also here's some goofiness along the way. It's really balanced, and every episode is just like the cliffhangers that find themselves in there. You're like, yeah, all right, yeah, what's next? Okay, what's going on? I'm so obviously far ahead with the manga than the anime. But even so, even though I read the manga mostly in 2022 and in 2023, and then weekly as it's come out, but I read the bulk of it, and then kind of took a break and then reread it as soon as the winter season was over. As soon as Frieren ended, I went back and started with book 1 again to reintroduce some characters to myself and to go like, oh, wait. Okay, yes, the guy from the anime that guy from the anime that I was like, I don't really remember this character. Now I do remember this character from stuff that will happen later in the anime. Okay, and it just feels so rewarding. There's so much joy and love of the medium in Frieren Beyond Journey's End. It could be a melancholy show. And in some parts, it certainly is. There is sadness within it. There is a bit of like unfinished business and regret throughout. But also there's joy. And there's some badass stuff too. There's a lot of cool fight. If you like some cool magic fight scenes, Frieren Beyond Journey's End has got that for you. This is a classic. This is like, I think some people may forget this came out this year because, again, some of the best episodes were in the first half of the season, which aired in 2023. So for some folks, they may forget that Frieren Beyond Journey's End was so good because it wasn't top of mind. Whereas Dan has recency bias. And maybe Dan, if it had come out in the summer, wouldn't have ended up at number 2. I still think it would, but who knows? But I can tell you that throughout this full year, this full calendar year, I've been thinking about, I don't know what's going to beat Frieren, and nothing did. Nothing beat Frieren for me personally. And again, this is my top 10 list, not yours. My hope for this video, as we've come to the end, is that something in this list inspired you to go watch it. Maybe you want to see Look Back. You want to see that movie. Maybe you want to check out Solo Leveling because you're like, I haven't checked out any manhwa adaptation, so maybe this will be the one for me. Maybe my dear friend Nokutan, you bounced off the first episode, but me telling you that it just gets sillier and weirder, and it doesn't matter if you're confused, just go with it. Maybe that's enough for you to go like, okay, I will check out the next one. I don't know. I don't know if my top 10 list has done that. Hopefully it has. Hopefully, like 365 Days to the Wedding is a show you may not have even heard of. That's always the hope. Or you're like, well, Pat, I don't watch Isekai, but I watched one you recommended a couple years ago, so, and I really liked Killing Slimes for 300 Years, so I'll watch Dahlia and Bloom, and maybe you'll find a show you really love. That's always the hope with my list, is that I'm exposing that. Maybe also, you get validated. Maybe your friend group bounced right off of a show, and you were like, well, Pat thought Oshinoko Season 2 was pretty fucking awesome, so there you go. Or, my friends didn't like Villainous Level 99. I may be the hidden boss, but I'm not the Demon Lord. I had looked at the full title. But I thought it was great, and it's in Pat's top 10. Whisper Me a Love Song. I love that show. It's on my list because my list, it doesn't matter that episodes 11 and 12 didn't come out. Or I'm not running my list until January, so I can watch episodes 11 and 12 and include it. Like, whatever. I hope I've at least given you something to check out. A few years ago, I'll just say briefly, there were multiple people, like I would say like almost half a dozen, maybe like 5, maybe half a dozen, that checked out a show called Decadence because it was on my list and they had never heard of it. And they were like, oh, I don't watch enough original anime, so I'd like to check that out. Maybe that'll work this year too. I don't know. I can't tell you for sure. But I can say that's been my top 10 list for 2024. And that's Pat Baer's Anime Club. I want to hear about your favorite anime of 2024 in the comments below. You don't have to give me a top 10, top 2. If a show that isn't on my list, if you're like, Kaiju number 8 is my favorite anime of the year, Pat, so I can't believe you didn't include it, let me know. Or if there's something that just like you were surprised, hey, maybe you're like, well, Pat, you didn't love Laid Back Camp Season 3? I can't believe that didn't make your top 10 list. I talked about it in the previous video about how that was really disappointing to me. But maybe it wasn't disappointing to you. I'd love to hear that. Is Season 2 of MF Ghost one of your favorite anime of 2024? You can let me know. I don't know. I'd love to hear from you. I always love hearing from you. If you have ideas for future shows, I know what my next video is going to be because I'm going to record it live. It is my fall wrap up for 2024 and my winter preview for 2025. Literally, I believe as soon as I record that, there will be a show that airs one episode. Like one show is starting really early and it's still technically the fall season, but one winter show is starting up. Maybe I'll watch the first episode of that. I don't know. But yeah, my next video will be a preview of the next season and also looking back at the full season. So more than just the 2 that I mentioned here that were from that season, all of the anime, if I watched it, if I didn't, what my thoughts were of those shows, you'll hear it all and it'll be recorded live on New Year's Eve. I'm going to record that on New Year's Eve and it'll be released the following Monday. So we'll start the year off right. We'll end 2024 talking about anime and start 2025 talking about anime, which for me feels right. Thanks so much for watching this. Hey, if you haven't watched some other Pat Baer's Anime Club, check those out. If you want to check out my other series, Kuma Baer, which is my weekly anime recommendation series, they're shorts, so they're quick. You can check those out too. Turns out I talked about anime a lot in 2024, and I'll do it again in 2025. Thanks for your support. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.